The notoriously violent and rebellious motorcycle gang known as the Hells Angels remains shrouded in secrecy. Many outsiders mistakenly believe that Hells Angels members are irresponsible and dangerous, but few know that the organization really has a very rigid code of behavior. There's a strict hierarchy that controls every facet of a member's life, from how they look and behave to how they participate in club events. These regulations are fundamental to maintaining the character and organization of the most notorious outlaw motorcycle club in the world. Providing a rare window into the clandestine Hells Angel Society, this article will go into some of the lesser-known restrictions. Hold on tight, this ride is about to reveal a lot. Harley-Davidson only. Members of the Hells Angels are required to ride only Harley-Davidson motorcycles. This is one of the most well-known and inflexible rules of the group. This is very necessary. It is not only a personal choice. We will not even consider you for membership if you ride a different brand or model, regardless of how strong or showy it is. Riding a Harley is more than just a means of transportation for the Hells Angels. It is a symbol of their heritage and commitment to the club's original principles. When the Hells Angels were created in the post-war period, Harley-Davidsons were popular among the returning servicemen and women because they were American-made, reasonably priced, and simple to repair. The Harley-Davidson has become an iconic emblem of the Brotherhood's untamed spirit and reputation as an outlaw throughout the years, further solidifying its connection to the American biker subculture. There may be other motorcycle manufacturers out there with more cutting-edge technology and style, but the Hells Angels will never waver from their devotion to Harley-Davidson. Keeping to the club's history is more important than efficiency or practicality. Unfaltering commitment to tradition and image is a bigger theme inside the organization, and this regulation reflects it. The Hells Angels have built and jealously guarded an identity that includes the roar of a Harley's engine, the shine of its chrome, and the sensation of riding one. An honor symbol, a sign of devotion, and an embodiment of the renegade spirit, a Harley is more than just a machine to them. Follow the stages. Anyone hoping to join the Hells Angels must endure a rigorous application procedure that puts their devotion, discipline, and capacity to adhere to the club's rigid code to the test. Being a hang-around is the first and most basic degree of affiliation. It allows the person to be in the club's physical presence, but does not officially make them a member. During this time, the club will see how the prospective member acts, reacts, and fits in with the group's culture in an informal screening process. There is a significantly more rigorous probationary phase called prospect that he might be asked to join if the members are pleased with his hang-around. As they are not yet full members, prospects are often assigned hard or tedious tasks to do for the organization. They should always do what is said, never challenge authority, and demonstrate that they are trustworthy. This stage could continue for a while, and becoming a full member is by no means certain. Attendance at events, strict adherence to club regulations, and unfaltering dedication to the organization are all requirements for prospects. Not everyone gets full membership, even after proving themselves for a long time. Chapter approval is required for the momentous milestone of becoming a patched member, which grants the privilege to wear the club's complete emblem. Intentionally difficult, the procedure admits only the most loyal, trustworthy, and resolute candidates to join one of the most infamous motorcycle organizations in the world. Follow the voting process. Acceptance into the Hells Angels is based on the gut feeling of the group rather than any set schedule. A vote of the whole chapter is required to promote a prospect to full membership, and the choice is not done lightly. The Hells Angels define their own rules when it comes to promotions, unlike other groups who may adhere to a more rigid schedule. Depending on the impression the chapter members have of the idea, they can spend months, if not years, in that limbo. Nothing is easy, nothing is certain, and there is no room for appeal. Earning a prospect's trust often requires them to be available, loyal, and willing to put in a lot of work. He has to show that he's fully committed to the club's principles, traditions, and culture. His demeanor, approach to pressure, and conflict resolution skills are all under the microscope. We may keep a proposition in limbo, or even scrap it if even one of our members has significant reservations. Members will begin a vote when they believe it is appropriate, after the prospect has shown himself. However, the vote is canceled if there is still unpredictability or if the time seems wrong. Be patient. The charter is on standby. Hazing patiently awaits. Only when absolute certainty exists that the candidate would enhance the club's standing and adhere to its principles will the voting take place. It's a strong symbol of the fact that the Hells Angels don't believe in meritocracy, but rather in a consensus-based membership system where confirmation of brotherhood is paramount. Dress code. The Hells Angels are typical of motorcycle organizations in that they have a rigid dress code meant to showcase the members' heritage and individuality. Fashion is more than skin deep for the Hells Angels. It's a symbol of group cohesion, self-control, and discipline. For the most part, members are required to wear black jeans with black t-shirts or long-sleeved shirts under their vests or cuts. The Death Head logo, the chapter name, and other emblems that denote rank or loyalty are displayed on these cuts. Wearing shorts is absolutely prohibited. The club's image is one of toughness and no nonsense, thus shorts aren't allowed. There are also safety issues, as motorcycling while wearing shorts exposes the rider to potential dangers. Similarly, there is a norm for footwear. People want to wear boots or strong shoes rather than sneakers or anything too casual. The clothing code serves to preserve a feeling of discipline and uniformity while emphasizing the gravity of membership. It is common practice to keep a careful eye on newer members and prospects to make sure they adhere to the dress code. It's not enough to just wear the part. One must also adhere to the regulations and realize that their behavior, even down to their clothing, indicates their devotion to the fraternity. While these rules may seem inflexible to those on the outside, they serve as an additional foundational element of discipline and organization for the Hells Angels. Having a unified appearance says it all. This is more than just a club. It's a way of life. The vest is sacred. More than simply an article of apparel, the iconic Hells Angels vest, also called a cut, represents the wearer's position, devotion, and identification to the organization. It is guarded with the utmost respect, even among criminals, and only full-patch members are permitted to wear it. The vest is a proud display of the club's emblems, such as the Death Hood logo, the member's charter name, and various patches that indicate rank or accomplishment. It's more than simply clothing. It's a symbol of the bond that has been forged through unwavering commitment, mutual respect, and many trials. Members will go to extreme measures to safeguard their cuts due to the significant symbolic value they have. Before the authorities take a Hells Angel into jail, one of his first duties is to pass his vest to another member. The reasoning for it is straightforward. The cut shouldn't be accessible to other parties, especially the police. Similarly, a member will often put himself in harm's way to protect the vest in the event that he thinks a motorcycle accident is imminent. Stories of motorcyclists twisted in mid-fall to shield wounds are widespread. They prioritize the integrity of the vest before their own safety. In the club, losing or hurting a cut is a major deal that might lead to repercussions. This profound reverence highlights the seriousness of full membership. The jacket is more than simply a piece of apparel. It is the representation of a fraternity that requires undivided devotion and relentlessly upholds its traditions. Code of Silence. Books and first-hand experiences published by people who know somehow gained the club's acceptance, or at least their tolerance, provide much of the information regarding the Hells Angels, rather than official declarations or public revelations. These authors, who frequently have insider knowledge as either current or former members, embedded journalists, or undercover police, provide readers a unique look into the clandestine society. When it concerns outsiders, the Hells Angels are infamously silent and stick rigidly to their rule of silence. Discussing club business with anybody who is not a full-patch member is absolutely banned. Violating this rule might result in serious repercussions, such as expulsion or worse. Talking trash about other members is a certain way to get in trouble. Betraying a brother by talking about his company or activities is a major violation, since loyalty is the cornerstone of the Hells Angels ethos. This rule of silence is required to be upheld even by members who depart on good terms. Not only does the club's culture of secrecy shield it from public confusion and legal action, but it also strengthens the feeling of exclusivity and devotion that members feel toward one another. Due to these limitations, the little views into the Hells Angels' inner workings that we do receive are sometimes partial and disjointed, yet they are nonetheless captivating. They fill in the gaps just enough to prove what many have suspected, that the club follows a rigid code of conduct that is completely apart from our everyday lives. Riding order, senior members in front. The club's outings on the road are more like a regimented drill, with each member doing their part to maintain the rigid formation that represents the group's hierarchical structure. No member is free to ride their bike wherever in the queue. Rather, the most senior and esteemed Hells Angels ride ahead of the others. This prominent position denotes leadership and power, and it can only be held by those who have shown themselves faithful and have made significant contributions to the club over the years. The full-patch members are just behind them, and then there are prospects who are still trying to prove themselves and win a spot. Those who haven't progressed to the prospect level are at the very back of the queue. There is a symbolic and practical purpose to the positioning. It gives the leaders control of the group and makes sure that the less experienced riders are not left unattended. Because more seasoned members of the order are better able to detect dangers and deal with interactions with law enforcement, this order also offers an extra layer of protection. Riding in formation is a great way for the club to show how well coordinated and disciplined they are. To the uninitiated, it may just seem like a bunch of bikers, but to those who know their way around illegal motorcycle organizations, the message is clear. Status, allegiance, and heritage are everything. How you ride a motorcycle says a lot about you and your reputation among the Hells Angels. Solidarity. No one left behind. Pull one over, and they all pull over. A strong feeling of brotherhood and unbreakable unity is fostered among Hells Angels as they take their commitments to one another very seriously. In this club, loyalty isn't only an admirable quality, it's a ground rule. Nobody thinks twice about standing by a fellow member when they're in a jam. The road is where this solidarity is most noticeable. Without hesitation, the whole Hells Angel gang will stop if the cops stop even one of them. Their unbreakable pact of unity and mutual protection is shown by this, which goes beyond merely showing support. Beyond the realm of traffic stops, this notion of solidarity reaches far and wide. Members are expected to be there for one another in all parts of life, whether it's supporting one another during tough times, attending club events, or standing together amid disagreements. The premise is straightforward. Once you're in, you're family. Beyond that, no family ever abandons a member. The Hells Angels' terrifying image is in part due to their ferocious allegiance. Anyone from the outside who messes with one member has to deal with the club as a whole, as is swiftly learned. From the inside out, it fosters a culture that values dependability and trust. Riding side by side with an angel is a certain way to have someone who has shown himself there for you no matter what. The Hells Angels take great satisfaction in maintaining an unbreakable relationship even in the face of overwhelming odds. No contact with other clubs. Hells Angels members are notoriously hostile against those who associate with other criminal gangs, as is typical of illegal motorcycle organizations generally. Absolute allegiance to the club is required, and that includes severing links with any other motorcycle groups. Hells Angels membership is for life, so if you want admission, you best not have any ties, however tenuous, to other groups. Warning signs may be found in even the most innocuous of situations, such as when a close family or acquaintance is a member of another motorcycle gang. Such ties are unacceptable to the Hells Angels because they pose a threat to their safety, and more significantly, because they indicate a lack of unity among the group's members. Avoiding disagreement is important, but so is making sure that every potential member is totally dedicated to the Hells Angels and nothing else. During the protracted hang-around and prospect stages, prospective members are intensively observed, and their social networks are examined in detail. The prospect's advancement may be abruptly halted if any connection to an opposing organization is discovered regardless of how far they have come. The exclusive nature of the club further emphasizes its close-knit organization and frightening image. Each member must give their best without expecting anything in return. This unwavering commitment fosters a strong sense of brotherhood, where the allegiance of every member is paramount, and it also serves to ward off infiltration attempts by other clubs or police authorities. Hell's Angels culture is about protecting the patch and supporting your brothers above all else, not just motorcycling. No cops allowed. It should come as no surprise that police officers cannot become members of the Hell's Angels. It's an unyielding rule that applies in both directions. Hell's Angels members have little interest in joining together with law enforcement, and police policy explicitly forbids membership in criminal groups. The logic seems to be very clear at first inspection. Allowing an officer in would be seen as fostering surveillance, infiltration, and the degradation of trust within the organization, as secrecy and loyalty are the club's most prized qualities. It is understandable that the Hells Angels would be wary of admitting anybody who may disrupt club operations, considering their reputation for operating under the radar and their lengthy history of legal issues. But it's worth noting that the Hells Angels make an effort to present themselves in a more positive light than the general public gives them credit for. Their participation in charity rides and community activities belies their portrayal as a criminal gang. Instead, they act like a fraternity of motorcyclists. However, this portrayal is utterly at odds with the stringent prohibition on police membership. Why would an upright police officer pose such a danger if the club were really simply a bunch of motorcyclists who didn't have anything to hide? In the end, the decision to leave law enforcement out emphasizes how far off the Hells Angels world is from the rest of society. It emphasizes that once you're in completely, and there's no place for mixed allegiances, further solidifying the group's status as an outsider. No women allowed. The Hells Angels are an all-male organization, I'm afraid. No women may join. End of story. This isn't an example of the club's ambivalent attitude on gender or an attempt to foster inclusivity. Rather, it is a firm policy that it adheres to without hesitation. Since the Hells Angels have always upheld conventional, male-dominated biker ideals, it's safe to assume that they couldn't care less whether this exclusion is hurtful to some. The foundation of the club is the brotherhood of men who are committed to riding together, sharing a common code of conduct, and fiercely protecting their patch. There is no formal justification for the prohibition of women. The Hells Angels would not answer any inquiries on this specific rule, and they do not make their rules public. One possible explanation is the club's traditional macho ethos, which sees itself as an exclusively male brotherhood. Concerns like secrecy, loyalty, and keeping the brotherhood's ties intact probably have a role as well. Although women do not officially join the club, they do have a role in its operations, often as associates or partners. Asking inquiries about gender roles or questioning the club's norms is often not tolerated in the clandestine Hells Angels world. At least for the time being, the club's sternly traditional and exclusive men-only policy remains in place. Once an angel, always an angel. No one has ever been an ex-angel. As soon as you're never out. The Hells Angels are more than a passing fad. Becoming a member is a profound, permanent commitment that affects every facet of one's existence. This unwavering commitment is a hallmark of the club and a potent emblem of fraternity and devotion. Membership in the club is so exclusive that anybody considering joining must be very sure they wish to do so before taking any action. This kind of dedication helps explain why becoming a full member takes time and careful planning. Starting as a hang-around, progressing to a prospect, and finally being evaluated for full patch membership is the culmination of years of testing and observation. The club is meticulous in its screening process, taking its time to ensure that each applicant is mentally prepared to commit to the way of life and shoulder the obligations that come with joining. After you get your colors, the club's vest and patches, there's no going back. Expulsion or leaving the group is seen as a betrayal, and those who have done so, few survive to repeat the story. Members of the group remain close-knit and very devoted to one another due to the once an angel, always an angel mindset. There are no get-out clauses, no casual participation, and no second chances in this lifelong fraternity that requires complete commitment and confidence. The Hells Angels' inseparable relationship is a contributing factor to their enduring reputation and mystique that has been cultivated over the years. Starting a charter. Skip inquiring how to create a Hells Angels charter. The official website makes it quite apparent that you won't comprehend the answer anyway. The Hells Angels value secrecy, devotion, and exclusivity, so a cryptic remark like that fits right in. If you're still interested in learning more, however, there is some broad data accessible. Having a close-knit group of writers who have been going on rides together for a long time is the first and foremost need. In order to start a chapter with the Hells Angels, there has to be a proven dedication to the club's principles, a long history of brotherhood, and a common heritage. It takes more than just rounding up several pals and getting on a motorcycle under the Hells Angels banner to form a new chapter. The current club leadership must provide their approval before a new charter can be created, and this approval process might take years. Prospective members must have strong relationships with current angels, show unfaltering devotion, and completely immerse themselves in the club's culture. Full members keep a careful eye on every phase of the process, which often involves spending time as hang-arounds and prospects. Not even at that point is it assured approval. The Hells Angels are very careful in expanding their organization because they regard their reputation highly. You can't apply for the privilege of starting a charter like you would for a job. It is something that requires time, trust, and undivided attention. Don't talk to the media. Hells Angels are already forbidden from discussing the club with anybody outside of the group, and the regulations regarding their interactions with the media are far more stringent. No member may ever discuss club business with the media or take part in an interview that might reveal the club's inner workings. Everyone is required to adhere strictly to this guideline. It is not a mere recommendation. The Hells Angels are known for their secrecy and exclusivity, which they maintain by controlling the flow of information. Exposure to the public might jeopardize the club's mystique and cause problems with the law, misunderstandings, or unwelcome attention from the police. Speakers in Hells Angels films and news programs are almost often people who have ties to the group or have served in law enforcement rather than current or former members of the gang. You can be sure that someone who is openly promoting a so-called biker club or giving a thorough interview while dressed like a biker is not a member of the Hells Angels. Members in good standing are expected to keep their personal lives out of the spotlight, particularly while being mentioned or featured in media. Their steadfast commitment to secrecy and allegiance is emphasized by the fact that it is an integral aspect of club culture. There are severe repercussions for speaking out, including possible excommunication from the group. No apostrophe. One of the norms that the Hells Angels have chosen to disregard are the laws of language. Among the most glaring instances, Hells Angels, not Hells ''S Angels, is the name of the club. Those with an eye for grammar could find the apostrophe missing to be a major oversight. After all, shouldn't it read the Angels of Hell? But this alleged mistake is deliberate on the part of the Hells Angels. They are defiant and unconventional, especially when it comes to punctuation, and their name reflects that. This begs the question, why is the apostrophe never used? They just don't think it's missing, which is the simplest explanation. You miss the apostrophe, they don't, some members have explained. The word Hells Angels is more than a catchphrase to them. It's a symbol of their heritage, their reputation, and who they are. If it wants to be powerful, it doesn't have to adhere to grammatical standards. Their reputation as outlaws is further cemented by the absence of an apostrophe. In keeping with the club's reputation of nonconformity, it is a subtle verbal protest against expectations. Even though it's probably making English professors wince, the spelling hasn't changed in decades. The club's fierce adherence to its name and emblem makes it seem unlikely that the apostrophe will be appearing anytime soon. Perfect attendance. It is anticipated that Hell's Angels will be present at all club activities, including meetings and group rides. Every member's dedication to the club begins with their attendance, which is why it is not only encouraged, but essential. The bar is much higher for prospects and hang-arounds. Showing up regularly is a crucial approach to display devotion, loyalty, and dependability, especially for persons who are always being evaluated. The best way for prospects to become a part of the Brotherhood, learn club customs, and gain trust is to attend all of the events. If a prospect doesn't show up to even one event, people will start to wonder what their priorities are and if they are serious about joining the full patch. After establishing themselves as valuable club members, full members are given some slack when it comes to showing up. But it doesn't give them carte blanche to bail without paying the price. Any full patch member who chronically skips meetings without good cause may be subject to investigation or held to account. Absences are still recorded. Being physically present is highly valued by the club as it helps to maintain ties and make choices. At these gatherings, members of the Hells Angels are able to settle disagreements, organize future events, and strengthen the bond that unites them. Consistent attendance is indicative of dedication, whether to a weekly meeting, a charity run, or anything in between. In a group whose foundation is camaraderie and loyalty, those who don't show up, particularly when there's no good explanation, run the danger of being seen as untrustworthy or uninvolved. Logos for members only. No matter how much you appreciate design, motorcycle culture, or just think the Hells Angels insignia is awesome, you should know that it's not something to wear casually. More than simply a logo, the famous Death Head's emblem stands for belonging to one of the world's most prestigious motorcycle organizations and the unwavering commitment of its members. The club takes the issue of wearing it without proper authorization extremely seriously, since it is a major disrespect. Hells Angels Motorcycle Club members who have completed the club's rigorous requirements are the only ones authorized to wear the emblem. From their time as hang-arounds to their time as prospects to their eventual election as full members, each patch reveals a tale of dedication, trust, and devotion. In a society where one's standing in society is paramount, the act of donning ceremonial garb by someone who hasn't merited it might be seen as a profound insult, even as a kind of theft of one's identity. It doesn't matter how innocent you are or how much you believe you are paying tribute. There are severe repercussions for wearing the Hells Angels emblem without authorization. No one in the group will take it lightly, and physical conflict is certainly possible. If you haven't been formally invited into the Brotherhood, it's recommended not to flaunt their emblems out of respect for the club and its traditions, and for your own protection. Zero tolerance for drugs. Hells Angels and other illegal motorcycle gangs have a reputation for being very drug-oriented, which may lead one to believe otherwise. But you'd be incorrect about the Hells Angels. Despite the club's reputation for roughhousing, they have a zero-tolerance policy on members' personal drug usage. This is fundamental to the club's operation and integrity, and it's not only an issue of discipline or public perception. This strategy is also supported by practical considerations. Riding motorcycles, sometimes at high speeds, sometimes in close formation, is an integral part of a Hells Angels existence. Being hypervigilant and having lightning-fast reactions are essential for that style of riding. There can be no sloppiness when people's lives are at danger. If the rider is impaired, they put themselves, their fellow club members, and everyone else on the road in risk. In addition, the club places a premium on accountability, discipline, and loyalty. Substance abuse by any member endangers not only their own well-being, but also the credibility and viability of the group as a whole. Substance abuse is unacceptable in any community that values harmony and cooperation among its members. It may cause erratic conduct, problems with the law, and a loss of confidence. That being said, there is a lot more order to the culture than what outsiders may think. Sobriety is not only promoted, but strictly enforced among the Hells Angels. Don't link to their website. While we have made passing references to the Hells Angels official website on many occasions, we have omitted a direct link to it. That was deliberate, not a mistake. When it comes to publishing anything online, the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club has some regulations. To the contrary, you can't share a link to their website without first getting their permission. In general, they value privacy and control over the dissemination of their image and information, and this policy reflects that. Their approval of your connection request is by no means guaranteed, even if you follow all of the correct procedures. The club is very guarded about its brand and is picky about who they let use their name, logo, and digital material. With all the rumors and conjecture floating about, it's understandable that they would want to steer clear of being misrepresented or associated with something unsavory. A prime illustration of how seriously the Hells Angels take their brand and identity is their adamantness about controlling their online presence. It stresses once again how seriously the club takes all matters pertaining to its operations. Wearing the patch, going on a ride, or even just connecting to a website all come with expectations and standards. Also, following those regulations is very necessary in their universe. Inquisitive individuals will have to independently locate the website and interact with it according to its conditions. Don't talk to the police. Here we go again. The Hells Angels have their rules about who they may and cannot speak to. Law enforcement is the center of attention at the moment. There is a long-established policy inside the club that says members are forbidden to talk to the authorities under any circumstances. This strategy is a manifestation of the long-standing animosity and mistrust between the Hells Angels and the world's police forces. There is a strict rule of silence in place at the club, and members are aware of the seriousness of the repercussions for violating it. Although it is generally advised not to communicate with the authorities, there is a very strict no-talk policy on internal affairs, especially in relation to members who have gone missing. Everyone knows that the club will deal with any cases involving individuals who vanish or go unnoticed inside. The club's rule forbids reporting a missing member to the authorities or helping with their inquiry, which is considered as a breach of trust. The Hells Angels regard secrecy and allegiance to be fundamental principles that protect the honor of the group, even when this seems excessive to those on the outside. A betrayal of such principles would be cooperating with the government. In times of crisis, members are expected to seek solace and guidance from inside the club rather than seeking it from other sources. It's just another proof of how strict the quiet policy is and how much the club values its autonomy. Take the hazing like a champ. We all hazard our prospects. Anyone trying to earn a patch with the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club knows that. It's not conjecture. The club's culture incorporates hazing into the recruiting process and uses it for many goals. It's a test of a candidate's devotion, perseverance, patience, and readiness to accept the Brotherhood's authority that complete members use. Various forms of hazing might be as mild as public humiliation or as severe as physically or psychologically taxing challenges. The intensity varies greatly from chapter to chapter and from person to person, but one thing is constant. It is neither voluntary nor transitory. It is anticipated that prospects would submit to hazing without resistance or protest, regardless of how humiliating or hard it becomes. Truthfully dedicated individuals are defined by their adherence to this basic norm, whereas those who aren't. An automatic no if the prospect displays any kind of resistance, whether verbal or physical, and it is a rule. The severity or injustice of the treatment is irrelevant. The club structure views retaliation as an act of disrespect toward authority and, more significantly, as a rejection of the process's inherent value and purpose. After a candidate is eliminated, the process ends. Nobody gives them another opportunity. The door remains closed at all times. This harsh truth highlights how important the prospecting phase is. It's more than simply an endurance test. It's a rite of passage, and the patch is reserved for the brave. Respect the ladies. Those who are only familiar with the Hells Angels via dramatic headlines or Hollywood depictions may be surprised to hear this rule repeated. Hells Angels are expected to treat women with the highest respect, despite their reputation for being tough and defiant. There is a strict policy inside the club on this matter, and it is not an informal guideline. No amount of coercion will ever be tolerated in our club. In fact, the consequences for those who dare to cross the line are severe. Expulsion from the club without a second thought. When it comes to women, Hell's Angels members are supposed to act in accordance with the standards of discipline, honor, and loyalty. The culture may be male and even violent at times, but it doesn't give someone carte blanche to treat others badly. Full members, on the other hand, are required to always act in a responsible and authoritative manner, particularly while representing the club in public. Serious violations of the club's code of conduct include, but are not limited to, sexual misbehavior and unwelcome approaches. It brings disrepute on the whole chapter, and the person's reputation in particular. No more discussions, no more opportunities. The repercussions are immediate and harsh. This person will never be allowed back into the club and will never be able to apply again. While onlookers may get the wrong conclusions, brothers have clear boundaries, and one of those boundaries is a lack of regard for women. Buell bikes are okay. While it's true that most Hell's Angels chapters only permit Harley-Davidson motorcycles, there is one major exception: those who accept Buell bikes. This exception from the rule has a historical basis that is consistent with its ethos, although it may seem strange at first, considering the club's profound and almost religious relationship with Harley-Davidson. Eric Buell, a former engineer for Harley-Davidson, started Buell Motorcycles with the goal of making motorcycles with more American workmanship and performance features. Harley-Davidson subsequently integrated Buell into its corporate structure after taking note of Buell's invention and purchasing a major stake in the firm. Buell motorcycles are related to the Harley-Davidson family, even though they are visually and tactily unique from classic Harleys. That link is sufficient for some Hell's Angels chapters to accept Buells, though it should be noted that not all chapters share this exemption. Many people still exclusively ride Harleys. Brand loyalty is just one aspect of the rule. Other aspects include unity, tradition, and identity. Riding Harley-Davidson motorbikes is a great way to strengthen bonds of camaraderie and common purpose. The American-made motorcycles are a representation of the criminal pride held by the club. They are loud, strong, and distinctive. Some people think that Buell motorcycles are a natural progression from Harley-Davidson, as they are based on the same principles. Except for that one exemption, however, riding anything else is out of the question. You can't just ride any old bike if you want to hang around with the Angels. The Golden Rule. As a curious aside, the Hell's Angels seem to adhere to the age-old Golden Rule: treat others as you want to be treated. Of course, they do it in their own rough, no-nonsense style. Their interactions with others often boil down to basic respect, despite the myths and fearsome reputations that surround them. Being kind and respectful to a Hell's Angel in public increases the likelihood that you will get the same treatment from them. Those who approach them without animosity or criticism will find that they are kind and cordial. But this kind of mutual regard can only take you so far. A Hell's Angel will probably retaliate just as violently if someone is nasty, disrespectful, or aggressive against them. When confronted, they don't back down, and they assume others can see the difference between being polite and being provocative. The club's larger ethos of grit and dignity is reinforced by this eye-for-an-eye method of interacting. The point is not to be aggressive just for the purpose of being hostile, but to keep your distance and treat other people with respect no matter what. This conduct is reflective of a simple and uniform code that everybody may comprehend, not just club members. Underneath their hard demeanor and leather jackets, the Hell's Angels adhere to a notion that has been around for as long as humans have. Rudeness breeds rudeness. This seemingly little regulation has a great deal of significance in their universe. Serve the community. Considering they are known as an outlaw biker gang, the Hell's Angels possess an unexpectedly communal spirit. Chapters frequently have a reputation for being difficult and misunderstood, but they really value the role they play in their communities. More than simply a biker gang, they often host benefit events and host fundraisers to help the communities where its members reside and ride. Bike shows, charity rides, benefit concerts, and auctions are just a few examples of the big fundraising events that each chapter does on a monthly basis. These events may bring in a lot of money for local organizations. Chapters have been known to give tens of thousands of dollars a year to different causes. Charities that receive these gifts often work to address critical community issues, such as those pertaining to children's health, veterans affairs, and disaster assistance. The Hells Angels are cognizant of the challenges associated with their public image and see their charitable endeavors as an opportunity to give back to communities that have accepted them. Beyond only writing checks, the club is involved in other ways as well. Volunteering their time and energy, members often turn up in person to aid with event planning and provide assistance to those in need. Many people hold the misconception that outlaw motorcycle gangs are only involved in criminal activity or insurrection. Nevertheless, this engagement defies that stereotype. But what it really shows is a fraternity that, behind all the tattoos and leather, knows how important it is to help others less fortunate. Don't take a job at a prison. It is absolutely banned for Hells Angels members to work in prisons, for reasons that are likely to be self-evident. There is an official limitation inside the group, and this regulation isn't only about personal decision. The principles and code of conduct of the Outlaw Motorcycle Club are in direct opposition to prison labor because of the close contact that inmates have with correctional and law enforcement officials. Working within a jail setting would inevitably lead to conflicts of interest and might jeopardize the secrecy and autonomy of the Hells Angels, whose members operate with a profound mistrust of law authorities. It would be just as expected if the majority of correctional facilities had rules that forbade recruiting anybody with a history of involvement with the Hells Angels. Hells Angels membership is likely to be seen as a major risk factor by correctional facilities because, to the club's image and the sometimes contentious history between law enforcement and outlaw motorcycle groups. From the standpoint of prison management, having Hells Angels members in such settings is undesirable due to the possibility of security concerns, influence on prisoners, or confrontations with staff. Overarchingly, the relationship between the Hells Angels and the police has always been tense. Controversy and distrust are prevalent among law enforcement officials, whether they work for federal agencies or in correctional facilities. Because of their reputation as outlaws and their independence, the club almost never cooperates or gets too near the police. Both pragmatic considerations and the club's determination to keep a distinct separation between themselves and law enforcement entities are reflected in the prohibition of jail work. Don't ask how to join. Show up, hang out with the club, prove yourself, and ultimately the current members vote on whether to admit you as a full member. That's the fundamental procedure for joining the Hells Angels, as we've previously explained. However, if you want to be approved into the club, there is one crucial thing you should never do: inquire about joining. The Hells Angels value intuition, respect, and tacit understanding, and this rule is a reflection of that. An old adage goes something like this: if you have to ask how to join the club, you probably won't understand the answer anyway. It's not a joke. It emphasizes a crucial point about the club's selective character. Become a part of a close-knit fraternity that cherishes loyalty, trust, and shared experiences. Membership isn't about completing an application or a checklist. Those who are really committed to joining usually pick up on the unspoken norms just by being active and present. Being patient, humble, and content to let your deeds do the talking is essential. The capacity to respect the club's traditions and hierarchy is shown by prospects who abstain from inquiring directly. It demonstrates that you are familiar with the culture and are open to the idea of things developing organically. Attempts to hurry things or force answers break that dynamic, which often leads to people being left out. In the end, being a member of the Hells Angels is more about embracing the lifestyle and less about seeking acceptance from others. The club comes first. Hells Angels membership is about more than simply joining a motorcycle club. It's about being a part of a movement with a mission far greater than your own. The club functions more like a large, loving family, with members united by common goals, unwavering support, and a bond that goes beyond that of mere acquaintanceship. In this close-knit group, everyone is expected to always prioritize the club's goals before their own. The group's overall welfare takes precedence above any one member's wants, needs, or outside influences. Strict restrictions about not speaking to the media, staying silent with the authorities, and preserving confidentiality in all parts of club life are in place since the club is the priority. These regulations aren't punitive or arbitrary. They're essential for the club's well-being and longevity. When members are devoted to one another, they will look out for one another, maintain the secrecy of group business, and show the world that they are one. What keeps the brotherhood together in good times and bad is a communal ethos that puts the needs of the club first. When people join a group, they often find that it takes the place of other social relationships, forging a deep commitment that may last a lifetime. By becoming a member of the Hells Angels, you are pledging to live a life of selflessness, putting the needs of your chosen family, one that is based on mutual respect, trust, and undying loyalty, above your own. Many feel the strength and support it offers is well worth the significant commitment. Robert's Rules of Order. Just for a second, try to visualize a meeting of the Hells Angels chapter. Did you ever think of a meeting starting with a point of order announcement, followed by a reading of the minutes from the last meeting, floor motions, seconding, and finally a vote? No? I see that you had the incorrect idea. Chapter meetings of the Hells Angels are remarkably planned and structured, in contrast to the chaotic reputation the group has. According to Robert's Rules of Order, a codified system of parliamentary procedure, these gatherings are conducted in a way that ensures they are productive, equitable, and well organized. Considering the Hells Angels' reputation for anarchy and defiance, this may come as a surprise, but the truth is that the gang is rather serious about its internal administration. All parties involved are given an opportunity to speak. Decisions are made in a democratic manner, and disputes are kept to a minimum according to Robert's rules. To keep everyone informed and hold each other to our word, we usually start off each meeting by going over the minutes from the last one. Motions are then proposed by members and need to be seconded before they can be considered and ultimately voted upon. Formal protocols like this help keep the chapter disciplined and respectful even when tempers flare. Crucial for a community based on trust and camaraderie, it further emphasizes the club's dedication to openness and justice in decision-making. Chapter meetings are well-planned events that ensure the efficient operation of the club, in contrast to the chaotic appearance they may have on the outside. Prospects do the dirty work. Prospects can't hope to get elected if they just loiter around the club. This is one of those inflexible regulations of the Hells Angels. Being there is crucial, yet it is insufficient. As part of their participation, prospects must help set up for meetings, tidy up afterward, and take on any other responsibilities given to them by the full members. The prospects' dedication, humility, and readiness to submit to the club's hierarchy are tested by these tasks, which, from the outside looking in, could seem mundane or even humiliating. The requests made by the full members might differ greatly. Getting coffee or cleaning the conference room are two examples of the more mundane tasks that may be required. On other occasions, it may need more physical labor, such as cleaning or fixing the members' motorbikes. Prospects are required to do all tasks quickly and without complaining. If they are hostile or unprepared, the club will know they aren't ready to trust them. This approach emphasizes the relationship between full members and prospects by highlighting the roles of authority and progress. The Hells Angels place a premium on respect and hard effort. Therefore, this is a great opportunity for potential members to show that they share these values. Prospects show they are serious about becoming brothers in the group by stepping up to their obligations rather than just lingering around. Concert security. Members of the Hells Angels gang sometimes operate as security guards at outdoor music events. Several decades have passed since the club first became involved with the music scene, so this is hardly a recent occurrence. Legendary bands such as Jefferson Airplane and the Grateful Dead allegedly started the custom by hiring the Hells Angels for protection at their concerts. It was a common practice to pay the club with beer instead of cash back then, which reflected the period and the laid-back counterculture spirit that pervaded the club and the band. It may seem like a strange story, but the fact that the club accepted beer as payment reveals its early connections to the music industry, particularly the psychedelic rock movement of the 60s and 70s. The function of the Hells Angels as concert security has changed over the years. When they take on these jobs now, it's more common for them to be employed and compensated like any other professional security team. Many appreciate their presence because of their reputation as strict, no-nonsense enforcers who can calm down raucous crowds without making things worse. The Hells Angels have done well for themselves, despite their reputation as outlaws, by finding a way to combine their passion for music with their duty to keep events under control. Despite the fact that they likely no longer take beer as payment, the club's history of working concerts is an intriguing part of their biography and a reminder of the many cultural movements with which they have been connected outside motorcycling and club culture. Honor the Fallen. Honor the Fallen is one of the Hells Angels' most fundamental rules. There's a great deal of reverence and ritual observed during the funeral of a club member who dies, much like a military funeral. Their dedication goes far beyond the clubhouse and the open road, and this tradition is a reflection of the strong bond of brotherhood and loyalty that unites the club. The funeral rites are a way for the community to honor the deceased's life and work while also providing comfort to their loved ones and co-workers. In most cases, the occasion is serious and well-planned. Motorcyclists from all across the nation and the world may make the long journey to pay their respects at the funeral. At these get-togethers, the club's principles of reverence, honor, and devotion are on full show, becoming powerful displays of unity. No matter how many people there are or how intense their emotions may be, everyone is required to maintain a respectful demeanor throughout the ceremony. We will not tolerate rudeness or disruptive behavior. This profound respect for the departed is a constant reminder of the club's heritage and shared identity. The group's unwavering loyalty to one another is highlighted by each funeral, which further strengthens their friendship. It is a holy obligation that goes to the core of being a Hells Angel for many members of the club to respect the deceased. It is more than simply a custom. Patriotism is important. Patriotism runs deep in the Hells Angels culture, as most of the club's founders were soldiers of World War II. A strong feeling of national pride, devotion, and responsibility was carried over into the club's founding by many of these men who had served their country during a historically difficult time. Despite common misconceptions about outlaw motorcyclists being anti-establishment radicals, the Hells Angels family history demonstrates a deep devotion to the United States and respect for its military personnel. This patriotism manifested itself in an unexpected way during the Vietnam War, when the infamous Hells Angels offered the president their help. They offered to provide a hand in any manner they could to the war effort, but the government graciously turned them down. Despite the setback, the incident shows that the club members saw themselves as patriots, ready to fight for their nation. Throughout the years, the club's passion for their nation has been consistent. Club activities, patches, and tattoos often include patriotic symbols and traditions. Notwithstanding their tangled history with higher-ups, many Hells Angels are justifiably proud of their American heritage and all that it has accomplished. The club's culture is more complex than it seems at first look, thanks to this combination of independence and patriotism, which demonstrates a profound reverence for the country even among members who are recognized for living independently. 1%ers. Hells Angels take great delight in being stereotyped as a 1%er. However, 1%er may not have the precise meaning you are assuming. A statement made in the late 1940s or early 1950s by the American Motorcycle Association, AMA, is where the term was first used. The American Motorcyclists Association, AMA, supposedly made the statement after a very disruptive motorcycle event claiming 99% of riders are law-abiding people and that the other 1% are criminals who don't care about following the rules or societal standards. The Hells Angels and other illegal motorcycle groups took pride in the 1% moniker, which they used to represent their rebelliousness and autonomy. To be a 1%er is to reject the norms of mainstream society and live according to one's own set of laws. This goes beyond just disobeying the law. The Hells Angels and similar 1%er groups consider themselves apart from the majority of motorcyclists. They oppose traditional conventions and authority, often due to their celebration of independence, loyalty, and untamed way of life. Wearing a patch or a diamond-shaped 1% insignia makes members' identities known and acts as a badge of honor and a warning all at the same time. The Hells Angels maintain a stringent code of behavior among its members, despite the fame that comes with being a 1%er. Their position as outlaws is not a reflection of their irresponsible or chaotic conduct, but rather of their will to live life independently while maintaining an unwavering dedication to camaraderie and reverence. Ride every day. Being a member of the Hells Angels requires, well, a passion for motorcycles, since this is a group dedicated to motorcycling. As a way of life, riding takes precedence for members above anything else. In a typical year, the Angels would rack up tens of thousands of kilometers on their trusty motorbikes. The club's identity and everyday activities revolve on riding together as a group. Riding with your brothers brings a tremendous feeling of brotherhood, shared experiences, and togetherness, and it's not only about enjoying it on an individual level. Although it's usual for recreational motorcyclists to ride alone, it's not enough to join the Hells Angels. It is anticipated that members would routinely participate in group rides and show up on bikes for club activities. These rides may be rather taxing, spanning large miles and sometimes continuing for days on end. Being a member of the club is seen as a way to show your devotion and allegiance, whether it's a small gathering or a large rally. Obviously, there are cases when a member might be excused from missing rides. Serious causes such as sickness or family problems qualify. On the other hand, they are carefully considered and chronic absenteeism is not tolerated. Going on the road as much as possible with your brothers is an essential part of living the Hells Angel lifestyle. More than simply a means of transportation, riding as a group represents unity, independence, and dedication. They're territorial even in the hospital. One of the primary goals of any Hells Angels chapter is to defend the region within which they operate. Both amongst Hells Angels chapters and with other competitor gangs, these limits are strictly enforced. Respecting the club's geographical structure is essential for keeping the peace and preventing conflicts among bikers. The locations of club meetings, rides, and other activities are supposedly within the sole jurisdiction of each chapter. Beyond only excluding other motorcycle gangs, their territorial control is extensive and profound. Chapters of the Hells Angels fiercely protect their own territory, and rival clubs are not allowed to cross into other chapters' domains without authorization. This deference to geographical boundaries keeps each chapter functioning autonomously and reduces the likelihood of needless conflicts that might undermine the organization as a whole. The regulation of healthcare institutions is an unusually stringent component of this territorial control. It has been alleged that hospitals situated inside the jurisdiction of a Hells Angels chapter are off-limits to members of competing organizations, and the reverse is also true. Even emergency treatment is affected by geographical borders, which is a reflection of the extreme group allegiance and division. From the outside looking in, this may seem severe, but for the club members involved, it's just another way they're determined to keep their domain safe and their activities under control. Hells Angels would stop at nothing to protect their territory, which is more than simply a piece of land to them. It is a representation of their pride, power, and identity. More patches equal higher rank. The distinctiveness of each Hells Angels rider's vest is immediately apparent when you see them out and about. Not only do the designs and placements of the patches vary, but so does the quantity of patches worn by each member. This variation is intentional and correlates with the member's position and rank inside the club. A member's right to wear patches, which represent loyalty, duties, and achievements throughout time, increases in proportion to his seniority and respect inside the group. The primary logo patches are worn prominently on the back of the vests by new members, generally referred to as prospects. Prospects are not permitted to wear the whole set of patches that full members have, but they do get patches that incorporate the club's name and the famous death head insignia. Additional patches reflecting a member's advancement and status are earned as they increase in rank, whether by years of service, proved devotion, or donations to the club. In the Brotherhood, these patches represent more than simply style. They are emblems of pride and individuality. They show how far up the club's hierarchy a member is and how much trust he has gained from his peers. Some patches may symbolize particular accomplishments, positions within the chapter, or awards. The colors of the vest serve as a visual resume that chronicles the wearer's Hell's Angels experience. If you ever encounter a group of angels out on a ride, you can tell a lot about their personalities and how they all became a part of the tight-knit family just looking at the vests they're wearing. One big family. The Hells Angels may seem like any other motorcycle club or gang to those on the outside looking in. However, for the people who work there, it's much more than that. It's a genuine family. Hells Angels members really mean it when they refer to one another as brothers. They are more than just fellow riders. These connections aren't made hastily or carelessly. They are formed over time via shared struggles, devotion, and a steadfast dedication to one another and the club overall. Many angels have a stronger bond with their fellow members than with their own families. It's more than just words. Many people find a sense of community, belonging, and support at the club that they would not have experienced anywhere else. Almost everything else takes a back seat to the requirements of the club and one's brothers in this fraternity, which is based on unwavering commitment. Because the organization can only be as solid as the dedication of its individual members, the regulations are stringent and the standards are high. The Hells Angels have an incredibly strong feeling of brotherhood. Everyone rides, fights, mourns, and celebrates together. They unwaveringly support one another when faced with challenges. Not the motorcycles or the reputation, but the unbreakable bond of family that exists among the club's members is what gives it its strength. Those who are a part of the Hells Angels are more than simply companions or pals. They are lifelong brothers. Support gear. It goes without saying that you are not allowed to wear their logo. Only full patch members may wear the Hells Angels symbol, which they take very seriously. Wearing it without membership is not only rude, but it might get you in trouble. There are, however, more respectable methods to demonstrate your allegiance to the team. Actually, Hells Angels members and admirers find it quite simple to do so. Any member of the general public may buy a broad range of support items. There is an abundance of club-approved goods, including sweatshirts, t-shirts, caps, mugs, and stickers, so you can show your support in style. Items often include words such as Support 81 or Support Red and White, coded allusions to the club that are well known among knowledgeable individuals. 81 is a code for the Hells Angels, which is the 8th and 1st letters of the alphabet, respectively. Looking at their official website or related support sites is a good first step if you're interested. Make sure you're expressing your support in a manner the club approves of by purchasing anything mentioned there. Everything is made expressly for non-members. A little respect can go a long way, you know. You should always be yourself, so go ahead and get the stuff and wear it with pride if you so choose. It is one thing to back the team. Something very different happens when you try to claim membership without really earning it. Follow the rules. Even while Hells Angels don't follow most societal norms, it doesn't imply they're completely out of control. Really, it's the inverse that's correct. The club has its own rigorous code of conduct, which consists of a comprehensive list of regulations that all members are required to adhere to without fail. Everything from showing up on time and being loyal to how you act in public and how you treat other members is governed by these guidelines. Even though the Angels don't follow the rules, they take discipline and order very seriously among themselves. You must adhere to these internal regulations. They are not recommendations. There is no wiggle room when it comes to the members' expectations, and everyone knows what they are. There is zero tolerance for infractions, and serious penalties are meted out for them. Banishment or permanent expulsion from the club is one of the worst penalties. Retaining your membership patch isn't the only issue here. If you're excommunicated, you're totally alone. You are now forbidden from interacting with any existing members, participating in club activities, or even tangentially related activities. As a severe punishment, banishment is on par with dishonorable dismissal from the military or familial exile. It's the ultimate public rejection that shows you didn't meet the club's standards. Expulsion is the highest kind of humiliation for a community that values brotherhood and loyalty so profoundly. Everyone knows that if you don't play by the rules of the Hells Angels, you have no business being a member.
If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon